Hey guys, welcome back to engVid. Today's lesson we are looking at how to ask for money that is owed to you. So a lesson that could be useful for someone at work, maybe a freelancer chasing down payments. I know what that's like. And we're going to be looking at on the telephone and by email. I'm going to start with over the phone because it's the more direct approach. Especially as an English language learner, it will probably be more difficult over the phone than by email, where you could rely on Google Translate to provide some sort of half-baked translation. So this is more challenging because you're going to need to listen to what the other person says as well and to respond to that. But we've got a pretty good script here that you can make your own, and I'm going to talk you through it now. So, the tone is going to be firm, but not aggressive. Okay? So, hello. Am I speaking to? I have got lessons on telephone English, so you can check those out. But just make sure you're speaking to the right person. How are you? And they'll probably say, yeah, very good. Lots of work, very busy. And then a short, simple reply. Excellent. Taking control of the conversation. Yep. Enter the topic of this phone call. Now, I'm calling today about the outstanding payment or payments, if there are more than one, for, and then you could put the amount of money that is owed. For the outstanding payment, actually, you know what? We need to change the prepositions. So we should say outstanding payment of, then the amount, and then for. I'm calling today about the outstanding payments of £214 for services supplied on the 14th of October. And then they'll say, oh, haven't we paid that yet? Oh, I don't know what's going on with that. Yep, so there will be some kind of excuse at this point here. Yep, excuse. We're not going to put up with that. We did also send you a reminder email on, we're going to put the date in there, on the 21st of October. And they'll say, oh, it must have gone into my spam folder, or definitely didn't get that. And then again, one of these sort of very short sentences, of course. We know that they did receive the email, but we're not going to say that they didn't. Now, we're trying to get them to commit to actually making the payment. When do you think you might be able to make a payment for this? Question, what's the answer? It may be something like, oh, I'm not quite sure. It might be the month after next or something. Yep, which is not what we need. We need it earlier. So we'll say, right. Again, a one-word sentence. By using such a short sentence, you're suggesting that that's not great. Our payment terms are always 30 days from the date of invoice. Yeah, nice and clear. We have a rule. It's all documented in the paperwork. Is there not any way you could settle up sooner? So, to settle up, if you settle a score, it means you pay off what is due or what is owed to someone. And then they'll say, oh, maybe we could do it at the end of the month. So we want to secure that and make sure they definitely do that. Okay, so we say, okay then, are you definitely going to be able to stick to that? Let's try and get the pronunciation and the sort of rhythm of that right. Okay then, are you definitely going to be able to stick to that? Yeah, we don't go to that. And then hopefully they'll say, oh yes, absolutely. Okay, so this you would use if they don't honour that commitment to pay. So you're going to say, if there's any problems, I will get back to you. Yeah, or I'll get back to you if there are any problems with this. You may also want to let them know that you need permission to grant a delay in the paying of this invoice. Yeah, you need to speak to your boss to get permission. I will need to run that past my manager. To run that past means to talk about it with someone more important. Now, if they say something like, we're not going to be able to pay until January, then you need to get a little bit firm. You need to say like, I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to work. We would normally expect everything to be paid within a month. So you're now giving a threat, given the situation. Given the situation, that means with the situation we have, what we need to do, I think I'll have to consider informing or terminating our agreement, whatever threat you want to use. Okay, it's not working. We're going to have to do something serious. And then you could refer to the condition on the invoice. As I mentioned earlier, mention means to say, as I mentioned earlier, payment terms are always 30 days from the date of invoice. Okay, and we need to find some way to end this phone call. So maybe you could say, well, it's been very nice speaking to you and I look forward to receiving the payment on such and such a date. Okay, something like that. What we're going to do now is look at how to do this by email. Okay, using just a few phrases. Let's have a look. So this is a basic email template for chasing a payment. What I've done to make this even more difficult is to make some deliberate mistakes in the email. There are 6 mistakes to look out for. So I'm going to read it through and you try and think, where are the mistakes? Some of them are prepositions, some of them are wrong forms of words. Dear Mrs. Supplier, I am writing with inform you that despite earlier requests in payment, invoices 4 and 5 have still not been paid. Please look attached copies of invoices. We ask that you settle this account with 1 week. Please ignore this email if you have already made pay. Kind regard, name. Okay, have a little look. Can you see any mistakes? Right. I am writing to. It's good practice to say why you are writing at the beginning of an email or letter. I am writing to invite you to a party. I am writing to complain about. I am writing to thank you for. So this construction here, I am writing to, is very widely used. I am writing to inform you that despite earlier requests in payment for payment, invoices 4 and 5 have still not been paid. Oh dear. Okay, let's have a look. So we've got a complex sentence here. Yep. So this is our sub-clause and this is our main clause here. Yep. Complex sentence. Please look attached copies of invoices. Please look attached. What do we use in emails? Yep. Find. Please find attached. So you'll probably get that funny sort of symbol of a paperclip, and our file is attached to the email up there, somewhere up there. Please find attached copies of invoices. We ask that you settle this account, that you pay this account with 1 week. This is difficult. The error is here. What does that word need to be? Within. Yep, so it means you have to pay before the week stops. So you have to pay in this week. Please ignore this email if you have already made pay. That doesn't sound quite right, does it? Made payment. And how do we end this correctly? Kind regards. Kind regards. Okay, so nice and simple, to the point, and we've made it clear what we expect them to do to pay in a week. So the next step would be to check the account, see if the money had been paid within a week. If not, then I would suggest going to a telephone call. We've looked at telephone calls, emails, lots of key phrases. Test it now by doing the quiz. Hope you've learned from this. If you have, share the love, send it to someone who would benefit from watching it. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video. If you subscribe and get my notifications, I hope you do. Thank you, bye.